Alright, so in this example we're going to start with creating your basic Scratch account and getting started. So go ahead and go to scratch.mit.edu and click on this Join Scratch button. At this point, go ahead and create a Scratch username. I'll do example CoderDojo. Pick a password. Go ahead and pick your birthday out here. And then click OK, let's go. Now at this point you're going to be on the main menu for Scratch, and it can show you some different things about how to create your project, try some of their starter projects, but what you care about is this Create button. So let's go ahead and click Create, and we will be on the basic Scratch page, and this is Scratch, our cat. So the first thing we're going to do with Scratch is move over this Move 10 Steps button. So let's just grab it and drag it into our code window. Now go ahead and click on this block. And when we click it, we notice our cat moves. He's moving 10 steps each time we click it. So let's go ahead and drag the cat back to the center. And let's explore what happens when we add an event to our cat. So here's the events window. And we notice a few different options here. What happens when this green flag is clicked, and what happens when a space key is pressed. So let's go ahead and grab this when space key pressed and drag it over here to the window. At that point, let's click this drop down list here, and let's click on right arrow. Now at that point, let's connect these blocks. So grab this Move 10 Steps block and connect it by letting go of your mouse. Now at this point, put your mouse back over your cat and touch the right arrow key. And you'll notice your cat moves 10 steps each time you touch the right arrow key. Now move your cat back to the center, and let's make it 100 steps this time. So we put in 100, we put our mouse over the cat, and we click right. And notice the cat moves a lot further this time. So 100's a bit too far for what we're going to end up doing, so let's move this back to 10. And let's move Scratch back to the center of the screen. Alright, the next step we're going to do is dealing with what happens when we touch the up arrow key. So let's go ahead and drag over this when space key pressed again. And this time we're going to do a drop down and do the up arrow. So go ahead and click up arrow. And let's go back to the motion screen. Now at this time, when the cat moves up, we want to make him turn so he points in the up direction. And to do that, we're going to use this point in direction field. So go ahead and drag over this point in direction and connect it to this up arrow block. And go ahead and click the drop down box here. And let's go ahead and click up. Now we put our mouse back over our cat again and touch the up arrow. At this point, the cat faces upwards, but he doesn't move anywhere. We need to drag our Move 10 Steps block and connect it. So let's go ahead and pull that over. Now we go back over our cat and push the up arrow. And now our cat's moving up. We can touch the right arrow again. But wait, our cat still moves up. We forgot to point our cat in the direction right when the right arrow was touched. So let's go ahead and grab one of these point in direction blocks again. And let's make sure we do right. And let's connect our Move 10 Steps block back. So now when I click right, the cat moves right. When I click up, the cat moves up. Now we need to deal with a case when the cat moves down. So let's go ahead and grab our event block again and pull it on over. Let's go ahead and do the drop down and do down arrow like we're used to and grab a motion block again. So we go back to motion, point and direction, and let's do down this time. And let's go ahead and do move 10 steps. Put our mouse back over our cat and we push down and our cat moves down. We push up and our cat moves up. We push right and our cat moves right. But now we have to deal with the left arrow case. Arrow case is a little different because we're going to need our cat to be facing the opposite direction. So we're going to need him flipped around. And to do this, we're going to explore this costumes panel. So go ahead and click costumes and let's right click on this costume 1 and click duplicate. So this creates another cat down here and it's called costume 3. Now at this point, what you want to do is go ahead and click this button right here that says flip up down. And notice the cat gets flipped upside down, and that's exactly what we want. So that's all you need to do on this page. Let's go back and click scripts. Now at this point, let's do the event block like we're used to and pull over this Win space key pressed. And let's do a drop down and click left arrow. Now the difference is when the cat needs to go left, we need to switch the costume for the cat. And to do that, we're going to press a looks block. So let's go ahead and click looks and switch costume to costume 3. Go ahead and drag that over and connect it to the left arrow. Then click motion and let's do point and direction. And let's do -90 for left. And we'll need him to move 10 steps. So go ahead and put your mouse over the cat and press left. And now our cat's moving left. But what happens when we press right? Our cat's upside down. He still has costume 3 attached. So for each of these other blocks, we need him to switch back to the original costume. To do that, go ahead and click looks. And let's drag over this switch costume 2 and change it to costume 1. Disconnect these blocks, switch costume to costume 1, and then reconnect your other blocks. And you'll need to do that again for each one of these. So go ahead and pull over, switch costume, change it to costume 1, disconnect these, attach, and attach. Disconnect these, costume 1, and reattach. So let's try this again. I press right, my cat moves right. I press left, my cat moves to the left. I press down, my cat walks down, and I press up, and my cat walks up. So at this point, now that we've got the basic cat movements implemented, we need to add an additional, what's called a sprite. So if you notice down here, the cat is listed as sprite 1. So we're going to draw our own sprite at this point. So go ahead and click Paint New Sprite. And now we have this little drawing panel here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click this line option. And let's increase the thickness just a little bit. And let's go ahead and click in the center arrow here and drag our line over. And let's try to keep it as straight as we possibly can. Now I'm going to click just a little bit up from that and drag another line out about the same length and try to keep it as straight as we can. Alright, so there you see our new sprite is on the screen. Let's click on that and see if we can't drag it. Yeah. So I'm going to drag it down here. Right here's fine. So now what I need is an event. So if you notice, each sprite here has its own panel, and these functions apply to only that sprite. So the cat has this right arrow, down arrow, left arrow, up arrow sprite, or controls. Our new sprite doesn't have any controls yet. So when we are moving the cat around, nothing is happening with our new line sprite. But we're about to change that. So click Events. Make sure that the sprite down here, this new line sprite, is highlighted. And go ahead and grab this When Green Flag Clicked button and pull it over here into this window. Now I want you to go ahead and click Looks and pull over the Show icon. This is going to make sure that this line gets shown automatically each time when we start the program, and you'll see why that's important here in just a bit. Now go ahead and click the Control window. And notice this forever loop. Now let's go ahead and pull over this forever loop and I'll explain it a little bit. The forever loop, basically any blocks that you connect in the center here, after you start by clicking this green flag, anything that happens here is going to happen over and over and over again until you leave the program. So what we want to happen over and over again for our program is something in the motion block. So click Motion, and let's go ahead and pull this turn 15 degrees item into our forever loop. Now, I don't want it to move that quick right now, so I'm going to change this 15 to a 3. Now, I'm going to click the green flag and see what happens in our program. Now notice our line is turning, and we're going to use this as an obstacle here in a minute for our game. Now, I'm going to repeat the same process I just did for this sprite and create a new line sprite as well. So go ahead and click Paint New Sprite, and let's do the same thing we did with the line. I'm going to make it a little bit thicker. I'm going to draw from the center here and over to the edge of the screen. Then I'm going to click up just a hair and go ahead and drag it over to the end of the screen. Alright, so now we've got our new sprite and we need to implement some functionality for it. So go ahead and click Scripts, and let's drag this bar up to about right here is fine. And actually, I'm going to go back and make it just a little bit longer to make the game a little bit more challenging. So I'm going to go back to this Costumes menu and click Zoom Out. And I'm going to just add on to the line just a hair. And if it's not perfectly straight, it's not going to affect anything in the game, so don't sweat it too much. So let's go back to Scripts, and let's do what we did before. So click Events, and click When the Green Flag is Clicked. Drag it over. Let's go back. Let's go to Looks, and click the Show button. Drag it over and connect it. Then let's go back to Control. We're going to need another one of these forever loops because we want our line to basically turn forever. And let's go to Motion and drag over this turn 15 degrees into the center. And I'm going to change this one and make it 2 because I want these to twist around at different speeds so that it'll make the game a little bit more challenging. So let's go ahead in this point and click Stop. And let's click the green flag and see what happens. Now notice both of our lines are turning. So I'm going to go ahead and click Stop. So the next step we're going to do here is we're going to add a finish line to our game. So go ahead and down here where it says Stage and One Backdrop, go ahead and click there. And now up here in the middle, click Backdrops. So now this is our actual background for the first screen. So we're going to go ahead and click this rectangle button and pick any color you want down here. For me, I'm just going to do green for finish line. I'm going to make sure I do this filled rectangle. Now I'm going to drag down here, and that's going to be our finish line. So we'll go ahead and we're done here for the moment. So let's go ahead and click our sprite again to switch back to this menu. And now we're going to need some new functionality. Okay, so the first thing I want to do when the game begins is basically reset the position of the cat. So if we go here to events again and we grab this green arrow item, let's go ahead and drag it down into the cat's sprite window. So notice the cat's highlighted. I'm in scripts for the cat's sprite. So it says when the green flag is clicked, we're going to go ahead and make sure we show the cat. So go to looks and grab this show button and pull it over. And let's go ahead and grab a motion button. So go to motion. Let's go to point and direction 90 degrees because we want our cat facing to the right since it's going to go through this obstacle course. And then let's do a forever loop. So go to control and grab forever. Now I'm going to introduce you to a new block called the if-then block. So the if-then block is basically going to check a condition every time that it goes through this loop. So basically every second this block is going to check to see if some condition is true. Basically if some type of event that we're checking for has happened. So what we really care about is whether or not this cat has made it to the finish line. And the way we're going to find that out is by clicking this sensing button. So click sensing, and let's do the touching color item. So go ahead and grab touching color and put it in that if block. Now we care about the green color, not pink, so let's click pink, and now we can click on a color. And in our case it's green, so we just click, and now notice the color has changed to green. So this basically says if we're touching green, then we need to do something. And so what we're going to do in our case, just as something simple to mark that we've won the game, is do a looks item. So we'll do looks and say hello. Or say, we'll change this to winning. So let's go ahead and click the green arrow and see what happens. So our cat didn't reset to the first position. So we're going to want that to happen. So go ahead and click stop. And let's go to the motion tab again. Now let's go to the go to X and Y position. Go ahead and grab this block and drag it over. And go ahead and insert it right here. Now these are numbers that end up putting the cat in a position on the left side of the screen and about in the middle. So just use these numbers. It's -186 and -14. Now go ahead and click the green arrow and notice the cat moved back to the left side of the screen. So now go ahead and press the right key. And when the cat got to the green, it said winning. Now go ahead and click stop. Click the green arrow and notice our cat's back to the beginning again. And if I do right again, our cat says winning when he gets to the finish line. So go ahead and click stop. What I really care about when this game's going on is, did the cat run into these black lines? So how am I going to find that out? I can do the same trick that I just used to find out if we were touching the finish line, to find out if we're touching black, which is just these lines on our screen. So I'm going to go back to control. I'm going to pull over this if block. And we can connect up multiple if blocks in our forever loop. We're going to do the same touching color type item from the sensing section. We're going to drag it over into this little box here, and we're going to click on the color. We're going to go find black on the screen and go ahead and click. Now if we're touching the color black, then we're going to want to do something that we haven't done so far, and that's going to be called a broadcast. So click events and let's drag over this broadcast message 1 and put it right in the center. Now when the cat runs into one of these lines, we want the cat to get reset to a beginning position. And how we're going to do that is we're going to broadcast out a message to basically let another function know that we want to reset the cat. So what we're going to broadcast here, if we click this drop down and click new message, we're going to type in retry level. Go ahead and click OK. So now it says if touching color black, broadcast retry level. But now we need somebody to listen for this retry level and know to reset the cat. So what we're going to do to implement that is drag this when I receive message 1. Go ahead and pull that over here. Now go ahead and click this drop down and notice retry level has been added. So click retry level and let's do the same thing we do when the game begins. We'll go ahead and go to motion and point in direction 90 degrees, which is just to the right. And we'll do this go to X, -186, -14. Now it should just be here ready to go for you. So go ahead and click go to X, -186, -14, drag it over and connect it here. So now I'm going to go ahead and click start and try my game again. So notice the lines are spinning around, and if my cat starts moving to the right, and notice when he hit the line, he got reset. So now we've got to find a way through the maze without hitting one of the black lines. And if I manage to do that, I get the winning message. So go ahead and click stop. And notice we just had our first bug in the program. When the cat went back, it still said winning. So we'll do this. Notice I dragged over a say nothing block. Let's see if I can get to the end of the game. It says winning, it gets reset, and the cat says nothing. Now notice the cat was upside down as well, so click stop. And let's make sure that the cat is pointed in the correct direction when it gets reset. We're going to want to make sure we switch back to costume 1 as well when the cat gets reset, just to make sure he's not in some weird position. So pull over this say costume to costume 3 and change it to costume 1. Perfect. Now I decide this game's pretty fun, but I want to add an extra level of difficulty. So I'm going to create a new sprite again. And this time I'm just going to draw a random object. I'll make it a circle for now. I'll make it black just like my other obstacles. And around the edges of it, I'm going to make it kind of like a meteor. Or an asteroid, or whatever you want to think of. So just some random object that's going to be bouncing around. Now I'm going to go ahead and drag that and put it right up here. Now let's go back to the scripts screen. And let's do what we've done before and go to go to events and pull over the when green arrow click button. Let's go to looks and go to show. Now we're going to need our forever block. So pull over forever and connect it. Now we're going to want it to glide up and down between a couple positions. So I'm going to go back to motion and pull over this glide 1 second to, and then some numbers. So pull it over and put it inside our forever loop. Now pull another one and connect it. So for our first glide function, we're going to put in 162 and 157. And for our second one, we're going to put in 162 and -157. And all of this is going to do is make this thing move up and down here 1 second at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and try it. I'm going to click the green arrow. And notice, that guy moves up and down right there at the finish line, just to make the game a little bit more difficult. And if I run into him accidentally, I get reset. So that's the basics of our first game. Once you've gotten to this point, I'm going to have another video posted here continuing on adding our second level to this game. And then we'll go from there.